Alright guys, once again welcome to Jack Slayter Notes. And today, like, share and subscribe to this channel for any educational purpose related to any sort of exam and all that. Yeah, that's anything. So today we are going to do MCQ and discussion on pedagogy and CDP, that is mixed, because we did a little bit of Atet, Gt&Pgt and child development and pedagogy, that is CDP, for CTET specifically. So but these 30 MCQs are helpful in any sort of teaching exam, let that be small, big, or anything. So 30 MCQ with some elaborate notes and discussion. This is set number 2. We already did set 1. Let's you guys check it out on the YouTube channels and everything. So let's start. Question number 1, assertion. Children learn concepts more effectively when the teaching is linked with their real life experiences. So that is actually, you get the point. When you learn something that has relevance in your real life, then that is a more effective education. And the reasoning learning becomes meaningful when lecture learner actively connect new knowledge with the prior understanding. So when you learn something new and you can connect them with your earlier learning, that is a perfect sort of effective learning. So both of them are true, and reason explains assertion. Both A and R are true, and reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Question number 2. According to Piaget, the inability of children in the pre-operational stage to understand conservation is mainly due to the Piaget stages like sensory motor and pre-operational, operational, and all 4 stages of development. So what happens, that inability of children in the pre-operation stage to understand conservation is mainly due to what? The answer is centration, because conservation, here is the details. 4 stages of cognitive / intellectual development. Number 1 is sensory motor stage, that lasted 0 to 2 years. These senses are teachers, meaning that they, whatever the senses, that's how they will lead, and that thing leads them, like object permanence, deferred imitation, reflex action. So the next stage is pre-operational stage, 2 to 6 years, that has constructive reason, irreversibility, centration, egocentric, and animism. And concrete operational stage is 7 to 11, that is logic begins, transitivity, CCS, that is conservation, classification, and seriation, and reversible thinking. So we get that from here. And formal operational, that is 11 and above, abstract, deductive reasoning, hypothetical, deductive reasoning. So now let's elaborate that what we get in the question, that is centration. Like I said, pre-operational stage and concrete, not operational, because formal operation and pre-operational seems like one thing. So there's the sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. So inability to children in pre-operational stage to understand conservation is mainly due to what? Centration. Like, okay, now we are going to elaborate on that part. Like, what is centration? Centration is focusing only on one aspect of a situation while ignoring others. Example, thinking a tall glass has more water even if both glasses contain equal amounts. So the same, centration is focusing on one aspect, meaning if there is like 2 glass and one glass is fat, but you always in your mind that tall glasses contains more water, but if there is a fat glasses, that would contain the same amount of water, but you don't get that point. So that is focused on one thing and ignoring every other thing that has related to it. So yes, we are going to now, let's discuss the 4 stages of cognitive intellectual development of Piaget. So we talked about first sensory motor stage, that is 0 to 2 years, then pre-operational stage, that is 2 to 6 years, then concrete operational stage, that is 7 to 11 years, and formal operation 11 and above. So what is sensory motor stage and what happens in sensory motor stage? So whatever that is happening between 0 to 2 years for a child, that is sensory motor stage, and whatever happens is object permanence is number one. Understanding that an object continues to exist even when it cannot be seen, heard, or touched. So 0 to 2 years, you get, a kid, a children, get to a certain point where he can, think that or imagine that a toy is that, you hide it, but he in his head, the kid who always does that. When you hide a phone nowadays or a toy or a balloon, he'll always search for this and cry, and when you give it, he will just go to the peaceful stage. So that is object permanence. That means understanding that an object continues to exist even when it cannot be seen, heard, or touched. Example: a baby searches for a toy hidden under a cloth. Then it is deferred imitation. Deferred imitation is ability to imitate an action after some time has passed. Example: a child watches someone clap today and repeats it later. So that is simple deferred imitation. Child learn from, family is his first teacher, and child learn from people. Someone gave teaches their kid to do some things, an activity, clapping or winking, or any sort of things, that they get it stored in the brain and they do it later. So deferred imitation is ability to imitate, that is, do exactly as the other does it, and an action after some time has passed. So example is, a child watches someone clap today and repeats it later. Another is reflex action. Reflex action is something you are born with. Inborn automatic response present at birth. Example: sucking, grasping, blinking. That is something you are born with, reflex action. Like for example, if you wake up in the morning and someone or someone trying to give you a punch, you will just instantly move your head. Someone trying to punch you, you move your head. That is reflex action, and that sort of thing is inborn. And here a child that is in 0 to 2 year, that stage, what would a child do? Reflex, inborn automatic response presented at birth. Example: sucking. When a child is brought to us to mother's nipples, what he do? He just started sucking. Is anybody there to teach them that to suck that nipple? No, that's is sucking. Grasping is just grabbing anything in their head and blinking the eyes and all that. When you just go too close or anything. Anyway, pre-operational stage, that is 2 to 7 years, and the steps that had is transductive reasoning. Reasoning from one specific situation to another specific situation without logic or connection. Okay, so transductive reasoning is an important one that happens between 2 to 7 years. That is, without any logic talk. Like for example, I was noticed, so it start raining. Transductive reasoning from one specific situation to another specific situation without logical connection. So if there's like two kids in the house, and his brother, one of the kid that is in pre-operational stage, and his brother gets sick, he would just go to mother and says, what? Like, if I was noticed, so my brother got sick or something like that. So that is like non-logical. Irreversibility is inability to mentally reverse an action. Example: a child cannot understand that flattened clay can be reshaped into a ball again. Irreversibility is inability to mentally reverse an action. For example, if there's a balloon and or a clay in this case, if it is flattened, if you can make any sort of shape with clay, but a child at this stage does not understand that. Centration is focusing. Other part is centration, focusing only on one aspect of a situation while ignoring the others. We explained that earlier. Then it comes egocentrism, difficulty seeing things from another person's point of view. Example: a child assumes everyone see what they see. So egocentrism is difficulty seeing things from another person's point of view. For example, if a kid, you are going to shopping mall and he wants to buy this big toy, and you are trying to explain that that toy is meaningless and it will not enter the house through the front door and all sort of things, but the kids want it, and he's just start crying. So that sort of thing is egocentric. Then what happens is animism. Animism is believing non-living have feelings for life. Example: the moon is falling. This is a simple thing. Animism is, if a toy is talk to a toy that he has a toy, he imagines that toy lives life. Toy has a different sort of lives. Those sort of Toy Story kind of thing. But I guess Toy Story, the movie, was based on or believing animism in this case. Then happened is concrete operational stage that happens between the age of 7 and 11 years. That's where logic begins. Child start thinking logically about concrete objects and real situation. That is, imagining stuff. Then happens is transitivity. There is understanding relation logically. Relationship logic. Example: if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then A is greater than C. So you understand that it's pretty simple. Then happens is conservation. Conservation is understanding that quantity remains the same despite changes in shape or size. So what we get earlier is centration. What happens in centration? Centration is focused on some one thing and ignoring what, like, you here focusing on one aspect and ignoring the others. That is, so centration, conservation is complete opposite of centration, because centration is where understanding that quantity remains the same despite changing in shape or size or appearance. Like water remains equal even when poured in different shaped glasses. So you understand that. Classification is ability to group object based on common feature. Example: grouping fruits separately from vegetables. Classification is, you understand that a potato is a vegetables and apple is a fruit, and if there is a basket, of tomatoes, potatoes and all sort of things, you can, you know classify them in fruits and vegetables. In this stage, that is concrete operational stage 7 to 11. Then it comes seriation, ability to rearrange object order according to size, weight or length. Example: arrange sticks from shortest to the longest. So this is almost like classification, but it's a different thing, because this is where you are, classifying same things but based on what, size, weight or length. Because in classification you classify object based on what, appearances, right? What they are, for what they are. But this time you are, so let's, you are doing small and big of, taken the example from classification, that is tomato, potatoes and apples and oranges and also. So in seriation, what you do is you will serially put like small potato, the smallest potatoes and smallest oranges and apples, not classifying based on what they are, vegetables or fruits, your size, weight. So if there is 100 grams, then you put in a box is 100 grams, 100 grams potato and 100 grams oranges, and then the bigger one, 100 grams 500 grams potato and 500-gram oranges. That is for just example, because there is no 500 grams of potatoes or oranges. If there's hybrid, then another thing. So that sort of thing is seriation. You are arranging things based on size, weight or length. There is reversible thinking, understanding the direction can be reversed mentally. That is simple thing. Example: knowing that 5 plus 3 equal to 8 and 8 minus 3 is equal to 5. So that is reversible thinking. You can, reverse thing in mind how things happens. And the last stage is formal operation stage, that is stage 11 years and above. So that means abstract thinking comes. That's when you think about, imagine about illogical things or things that does not happen. Every great invention comes from imagination and abstract thinking. That is ability to think about ideas, concepts and possibilities beyond concrete object. Example: thinking about justice, freedom or morality, or thinking about space. In this case, if you think about making a space station and all sorts of things, that is abstract thinking, because you are thinking about ideas and possible beyond concrete object, meaning that you cannot put it into, you know things. For example, Rick and Morty, the whole show is based on abstract thinking. There is no concrete object that can put down these theories and everything. So that is example thinking. And here's the example is thinking about justice to no morality. Then it comes deductive reasoning, that is drawing specific conclusion from general rules. Example: that is a very fun one. Deductive reasoning is drawing specific conclusion from general rules. For example, because of this thing, one thing happened, and because of this thing, and one thing that happened to that thing is the same of all beings, so that thing is happening to everybody. In simple words, all humans are mortal, we understand that, and Rohim is a man, so he is human, and therefore Rohim is also mortal. So that is a very funny one. Like, for example, a tree is going to die because a disease has come, and it affected. So there's other tree and all the trees, then it is sure that all the trees, because they are all trees, that's going to die because of that disease. So that is deductive reasoning. That is, all humans are mortal, and one category is also like all trees are going to die in this forest, right? Then there is a banyan tree, so because he is also a tree, you get the deductive reasoning that he is also going to die. So that sort of thing. Then it's hypothetical deductive reasoning. So deductive reasoning, you get this, but hypothetical deductive reasoning is something, you think about a hypothesis, that is hypothetical thinking, like hypothetical thinking. So ability to form hypotheses and test them logically. First you think about hypothetically and then you test them logically. Example, a teenager tests different possible reason why a plant is not growing. What he's doing, like he planted a tree, next day he says it's not growing or it's dying. So what he does is he just lay in the bed or something and think about what possible reason that tree is not growing. So then he comes up with different conclusion and hypothesis. Every scientist, before they make a theory or law, they create hypothesis. So that's how it works. That is the reason of hypothetical deductive reasoning. All right, so what we get, let's revise this. We got 4 stages of cognitive development: sensory, pre-operational, formal, operational. Sensory motor has object permanence, deferred imitation, and reflex action. Pre-operational has transductive reasoning, centration, egocentrism, irreversibility, and animism. Then come concrete operation, that is logic begins, conservation, classification, seriation, and reversible thinking. Then comes formal operation, that has object abstract thinking, deductive reasoning, and hypothetical deductive reasoning ability to. So the thing is that there's no easy way to say this, but you have to memorize and literally eat this whole thing up, because there's going to be a question about what kind of ability this, what kind of stage this kid is in of Piaget, intellectual or intellectual development. That is called intellectual cognitive intellectual development stage. The kid, in what stages the kid is who's doing like a, you know for example, he can has the ability to arrange in order of size, shape, or length, or whatever. And that question is can be more complicated. So the question would be which stages is that, and your answer should be what? Concrete operational stage. Anyway, let's move on to question number 3. Which of the following? Okay, here's the thing. If you have any complication or don't understand a thing, you can just comment on it and we will get back to you. Question number 3. Which of the following best reflects Lev Vygotsky's concept of scaffolding? Giving student answer directly, providing temporary support according to the learner's need, or allowing student to memorize independently, or testing student without guidance. So the scaffolding is about temporary help. So the answer is 2. That is providing temporary support according to learner's need. And here's the definition. Scaffolding means temporary support given by teachers or adults to help learner complete tasks. As the learner become capable, the support is gradually removed. So when the learner gets to do it on his own, you can remove the support. Question number 4. In Kohlberg's theory, morality based on rewards and punishment belongs to post-conventional morality, conventional morality, pre-conventional morality, or moral relativism. So moral relativism is nothing. So the answer is pre-conventional morality. So let's talk about Kohlberg's idea of moral development. Kohlberg's idea of moral development has 3 levels and 6 stages. Level 1 is pre-conventional, that is tit for tat. You each my age and I will age you rich, that sort of thing. Obedience and punishment, personal reward and orientation, and mutual exchange, that is level 1, that is pre-conventional. That has 2 stages, that is 1 obedience and punishment, and 2 is personal reward orientation and mutual exchange. Level 2 is conventional level, that has good boy, nice girl, and legal orientation, law and order stage. Then level 3 has level 3, that is post conventional level, that has another 2 stage. Fifth one, that is social content orientation stage and universal ethical principle stage. So let's start. Lawrence Kohlberg morals development theory. Level 1, pre-conventional morality based on punishment, reward, and self-interest. For example, morality that is based on punishment, reward, and self-interest. That is level 1 of pre-conventional moralities meaning. So that has stage 1 is obedience and punishment orientation. A child obey rule to avoid punishment. For example, a kid is fear of getting punished, that's why he does his homework. Wrong means getting punished. That is the word that is wrong means if he does it wrong, then he's getting punished. So he's doing that based on not getting punishment, though he is in what stage 1, that is obedience and punishment. That sort of MCQs always arrive that a kid is doing something to avoid punishment. Which Lawrence Kohlbeck moral development stage he is in, and the answer should be what, level 1 and stage 1, that is obedience and punishment. So the answer should be pre-conventional morality, that is in he is in, and stage, if they ask for stage, that is obedience and punishment orientation. So that's the thing. Example is a child does homework because that is school. So then comes stage 2, that is personal reward orientation and mutual exchange. So behavior is guided by personal benefit or reward. People help others only if they get something in return, that is tit for tat. Any sort of thing. If you will help me, I will help you in exam. If you show me the answer of 2 marks, I will show you the answer of another 2 marks. That sort of exchange is called, and that stage is 2, personal reward and orientation, mutual exchange. Then comes conventional morality, that means morality based on social approval and law. That has another stage, that is the good boy and nice girl orientation. Example, definition: a person behaves well to gain approval from others and be seen as good. So we have all kinds of people around us, and there are some people, they behaves well to gain approval, to gain popularity, to be called good. Example, a student follow rules to make parents and teacher proud. That there's nothing bad in that, so that's what they do it. If it's hypocrite, then that falls in another stage. But this here is plain, a person behaves well. He's not pretending to behave, but he's behave well and good, and he's doing that, and he gains approval to from others as good, because that's just inbuilt. Example, a student follow rules and all that. So stage 4 is law and order orientation, that is legal orientation. That has rules and laws are obeyed to maintain social order and duty. When it comes to rules and law, that were obeyed to maintain social order and duty. If we don't follow rule, and if we all are our bosses, and we just became law disavoiding, we avoiding law, and just start breaking traffic rules, that would be a chaos. For example, if we break traffic rules, this is because, so that's where it prevents them from law, and that's where this purge was prevented by law and order orientation, that is legal orientation. Rules and laws are required to maintain social order and duty. Example, a person follows traffic rules because law are important for society. Stage 3, that is post conventional morality, that is morality based on principle and justice. That has stage 5 and 6, meaning social oriented, contract orientation. Example, laws are important, but they can be changed if they do not promote fairness or human welfare. For example, that's where you get the understanding that if the law is bad. For example, earlier times, after the death of husband, their wives were getting burned alive. So that's where they realized that this law is not really good, it's not fair, or best well for the women welfare. So the example is, people may support changing unfair laws through democratic method. That's where people came along, and that's where they changed the law of women's burning. Stage 6 is universal ethical principle orientation, that is moral decisions are based on universal principles like justice, equality, and human dignity, even if laws disagree. Moral decisions are based on universal principles like justice, equality, and human dignity, even if law does it. That is something that you are creating your oneself. Universal ethical, that is ethics. If there is decision based on what, universal values like justice and equality and humanity, dignity, and human dignity, even if law disagree. For example, a person may break an unjust law to protect human rights. So if, for example, if there's an epidemic coming, a lot of country has this universal law of not breaking some area or entering some area to do, they have this fight and all that. If a big epidemic come, a bigger villain come, then all country would what, They became friends and just break that law to protect ourselves, protect for bigger fish to fry. That's what it is. All right, it's like to defeat Thanos. Captain America and Tony Stark, despite being their differences fighting Civil War, they became friends and good and they start beating the villain. Just for fun example. So question number 5 is assertion. Intelligence test alone cannot measure the complete potential of a learner. That is correct. That is true. Human abilities include multiple dimensions such as creativity, emotional understanding, and social competence. So both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Yes. Question number 6. Which of the following situation reflects intrinsic motivation? A child studies to avoid punishment. That is external. That is, he is trying to avoid punishment. That is extrinsic motivation. A learner reads books due to curiosity and enjoyment. That is intrinsic motivation. A student learns only for grades. That is also extrinsic motivation. A children participates because of external reward. That is also extrinsic motivation. So the answer is a learner reads book due to curiosity and punishment. That is intrinsic motivation. So what is intrinsic motivation? Intrinsic motivation refers to doing an activity because it is personally enjoyable, interesting, or satisfying, not because of external reward or pressure. The motivation comes from within the individual. You get that? Characteristics. It has the characters based on personal interest and curiosity, gives inner satisfaction and pleasure, encourage creativity and independent learning, long lasting and self-directed. You get that? It is long lasting because it is coming from within. It encourages creativity and independent learning. So the example is reading a book for enjoyment, solving puzzle out of curiosity, studying a subject because one loves learning it. Then comes what? Extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation refers to doing an activity to gain external reward or avoid punishment. The motivation comes from outside the individual. For example, characteristic is influenced by rewards, praise, mark, and punishment. That is not good. Often temporary in nature, depends on external. That is why it's often temporary in nature, because you can get your whole life, you can get reward or doing things your whole life based on outer effect. You have to do something intrinsically. For example, if you love teaching, right, and if you get the job of a veterinary, your whole life you will not enjoy that job, and you just get miserable and miserable. That's when the trust, mistrust, and isolation and all those things of stage comes. If life doesn't go this way, but life is more complicated than that. These are just theories. So you will get a bit miserable, because if you just do veterinary for extensive motivation, that is for more money, and this teaching has less money, and and if then other person does teaching, even he has the opportunity to make more money, he's just doing teaching because he loves it, and intrinsic motivation because he's happy. So that sort of thing. So example are studying to get good marks, working for salary or promotion, completing homework to avoid punishment, that sort of thing. So question number 7. A teacher asks student to compare, analyze, and infer while solving problem. This primarily develops what? You compare, analyze, and all those things. That has divergent and critical thinking, or rote memory, or habit formation, or mechanical learning. That has divergent and critical thinking ability. That is correct. Yes. Question: what is divergent thinking? Let's ponder on that. Proposed by J.P. Guilford, it means generating many different ideas or solution for one problem. That is, thinking abroad, thinking out of the box. That is divergent thinking. You think out of the box. Encourage creativity, imagination, and originality used in brainstorming and creating activity. For example, finding many uses of a brick or any sort of thing. You find multiple uses of a pen or anything. That's sort of the example. Finding many uses of a characteristics: fluency, many ideas, flexibility, originality, elaboration. That is the characteristics of a divergent thinking. What you do is, if you do that, if you get creativity great, and you brainstorm and all those things. What is convergent thinking? Opposite of divergent thinking is convergent thinking. Focuses on finding one correct answer to a problem, logical and analytical and facts based. Example, solving a math problem, because you are not getting multiple answer, you just need one and one solution only. What is creative thinking? Ability to produce new and useful ideas, combines imagination with originality, important in art, science, invention and problem solving. Example, designing a new teaching method. So creativity thinking is something you create new based on your own brainchild. It's your brainchild and you just create something based on your imagination and originality. Then comes critical thinking, that is careful and logical examination of information before accepting it. Like critics do to the movies, giving 4 star or 5 star out of 10. You just watch that and think about it critically and before accepting, or it helps in reasoning, decision making, judgment. That's when you judge about things. That is a movie that is being judged to give a rotten tomatoes and those sort of things. Example, checking whether a news report is true or false. Then comes reflective thinking, thinking deeply about past experience and action helps improve future performance. That is true. You reflect on your life and where you did wrong and then you try to fix that part. That is reflective thinking, because you are reflecting your life. Example, teacher evaluating a lesson after class. Teacher taught the whole class and then she started from the first, she started asking questions. So where did you learn from that, and which year that happens, and all sort of thing. So that's the. Then comes logical thinking. Logical thinking is thinking based on rules, facts and sequence, leads to rational conclusion. Example, if all humans are mortal and Ram is human, then Ram is mortal. So that is logical thinking. You get that from what? Formal operational stage or concrete operational stage. It's centration, conservation, irreversibility and all these things. You just revise them anyway. Logical thinking. Question number 7, that is not question, just step 7 is abstract thinking, ability to think about ideas, symbols and concepts that are not physically present. Example, understanding justice, freedom or democracy. Then comes concrete thinking, that is thinking limited to real objects and direct experience, common in young children only. Example, learning numbers using physical objects like apples. You see like kindergarten children have this plastic Lego toys of ABCD. If they can see the real object, they can learn it easily. If they can catch A or hold ABCD, then it's better for them to learn. So that's concrete thinking. Now we finally came to question number 8. Which of the following is not a feature of learner-centered education? Learner-centered education is something that a school has best interest for learner. Despite everything, it only cares and it should be more sensitive and best interest for learners. So active participation of learners, that is a learner centered education. And the question asks for which is not a feature. So flexibility in teaching learning methods, that is not also. Teacher is the sole authority. Now that is the problem. Teacher is not the sole authority of knowledge, because children construct their own knowledge many a times. A teacher is just a guide that pass on information, but the knowledge and ability, that is only student. Encouragement of inquiry and reflection, that is a feature of learner center, but not is teacher is the sole authority. Answer is teacher as the sole authority of knowledge. Question number 9. According to Howard Gardner, a children skilled in understanding others' emotion demonstrate what sort? That is interpersonal. Others' emotion is interpersonal intelligence, but intrapersonal is your own. So the answer should be interpersonal intelligence. Yes, interpersonal intelligence. Let's talk about intelligence, multiple intelligence by Howard Gardner. Frames of Mind, book 1983 by Howard Gardner, where he talks about multiple intelligence. Like Einstein fish climbing tree applies good here, because I wrote that because Einstein fish climbing theory was that if you underestimate a fish based on his ability of climbing a tree. Now that's would be bad because people have different sort of intelligence, and that's what we are going to learn today. Now, intelligence is not a single entity, it's very individual to individual. Here are 8 types. That is barbell, that is linguistic intelligence, poet, writer, author, rapper, they are barbell, they can use words. Then comes musical intelligence, that is Rahman, where he can make music, a tune or something. Then come logical, that is mathematical intelligence, then mathematicians, scientists. Then comes spatial intelligence, that is about space, that is architect and sculptor. Then comes bodily kinesthetic intelligence, that are sports persons, surgeon, riders or dancer. Then comes interpersonal intelligence, you know more than one other. Then is you understand about other emotions, like we just read that question, where a child skill in understanding other emotion demonstrate what interpersonal. Then come intrapersonal, that is self-aware, like Buddha. That is just example. That's where you understand your own intelligence or your own emotion or your own cognition or your own sort of like metacognition is interpersonal. Then come naturalistic intelligence, that is the form of biologist, zoologist, gardener and naturalist. And the ninth one, that is at the end, at very last, Howard Gardner proposed that existential intelligence, that's where you become spiritual and ask who am I, what my purpose and all that. So let's more elaborately understand that. Howard Gardner proposed that intelligence is not a single entity. According to him, humans possess different kind of intelligence. Likewise, I says if you judge a fish by his ability to climb a tree, then it's wrong, because if Sachin Tendulkar, if you just if Sachin Tendulkar's father put him on badminton and Sania Mirza's father put her on cricket, then both would be a loser in this point. So that's what it talks here, that it's human possess different kind of intelligence, and it's not a singular entity, and it differs from people to people. That's what the main gist of it is. For example, 8 types of intelligence are here. Number 1 is linguistic intelligence, that is word smart, that a person that is word smart, ability to use language effectively in speaking and writing. Found that intelligence is found in writers, poets, lawyers and teachers. Example, writing essays, storytelling, novelist, rapper. Eminem is a linguistic intelligent guy, for example. Or Snoop Dogg, or Dr. Dre, or Kendrick Lamar, or Drake. Then come logical, mathematical intelligence, that is number or reasoning smart, ability in reasoning, calculation and problem solving, found in scientist, mathematician, engineer. Examples, solving a mathematical problem. For example, if you watch the movie Good Will Hunting, Matt Damon's character was logical, mathematical, intelligent guy. Then comes spatial intelligence, that is picture smart, ability to visualize and understand space, shape and maps, found in architects, painters and designers. Example, there is reading maps or drawing diagrams. Like a cartographer, they were spatial intelligence, they can write, or a architect, one who make Burj Khalifa. So that sort of thing. Even in interior designer, maybe a spatial intelligence. So then comes musical intelligence, ability to understand rhythm, melody and sound, found in singers, musicians and composers. Example, playing music, those who are expert at music, some people are good at playing harmonium, some are playing at piano, or guitar also. So that's they understand music, the tune, the rhythm. Like we gathered earlier in the A.R. Rahman is a music genius, and he, or Anirudh, recently doing great. He's like a protege. Wait a second. Yes, he's sort of like a genius. So that's what he has is musical intelligence. Then comes bodily kinesthetic intelligence, That is body smart, ability to use body movement skillfully, found in athletes, dancer, and actor. For example, MS Dhoni has what? Bodily kinesthetic intelligence. He can use his body, but it's also a brain game. But example, dancing or sports activities, some sports, but dancing, that is totally a bodily kinesthetic intelligent person. Then come interpersonal intelligence, that is purple smart, ability to understand and interact with others effectively, found in teacher, leader, and counselor. Example, teamwork and cooperation. Interpersonal is when you understand other people, teamwork. For example, if you are playing basketball, if you don't understand each other, you cannot win the game, because first you need to understand each other, and when they will pass, who will pass ball to whom, and that sort of thing. Then comes intrapersonal intelligence, that is self smart, ability to understand oneself, emotions, strength, and weaknesses. Example, self reflection and goal setting. That is in terms of intelligence, because that's when you understand yourself, you understand what you are, what am I, what can I do, what are my abilities, and what are my goals to achieve in this life, that sort of thing. Then comes naturalistic intelligence, that is nature smart, ability to recognize and understand nature, plants, animals found in farmers, botanists, and environmentalists. Example, identifying different species of plants. For example, a teacher get understand different kinds of animal, and who's getting extinct, and who needs to breed, and that sort of thing is happen to be found in naturalistic intelligent people. Later, Gardner also discussed existential intelligence, that is ability to think about life and existence, but the common aspect accepted models contains 8 intelligence. So like here we did like 8 of says 8 tips, then added 9 one, that is existential. But later in life, Gardner also discussed about existential intelligence, but ability to think about life and existence, but commonly accepted model that was original, that has only 8 intelligences. What are those 8s? You go 8s, not 8s. What are those 8 types? Linguistic, logical, mathematical, spatial intelligence, musical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic intelligence. That's it. Let's move on to question number 10. Which of the following best explains metacognition? Memorizing information repeatedly, thinking about one's own thinking and learning processes, solving problems through imitation only, or learning through punishment and reward. So the answer is here is thinking about one's own thinking and learning process called metacognition. Thinking about one's own thinking and learning process. For example, what is metacognition? Metacognition is thinking about thinking, your ability to notice, monitor, and adjust your own mental processes. It's nearly by assertion and reasoning. Assessment for learning is more effective than assessment of learning in improving classroom instruction. That means continuous feedback helps teacher and student identify learning gaps and improve performance. Of course, both A and R are true, because assessment for learning is more effective than assessment of learning. Assessment of learning might be a summative assessment that is happen in the, and assessment for learning is during happening, so that improve classroom. For example, because like for a certain reason you enter just because. Assessment for learning is more effective than assessment of learning in improving classroom instruction, because continuous feedback help teacher and student. That is the thing, that is continuous feedback help teacher and students. For example, or the answer is both A and R, and R is the correct explanation. Question number 12. Which of the following teaching practices promote constructivist learning? Dictating notes throughout the class, or encourage students to explore and discuss ideas, or promoting passive listening, or avoiding group. So the answer is simple. Constructivism is about encouraging students to explore and discuss ideas. Question number 13. Dyscalculia mainly affects learner ability in reading and writing, that is dyslexia. Reading and spelling is dyslexia. Social interaction has to be autistic or some sort. Dyscalculia, mathematical understanding and calculation, that is dyscalculia. Mathematical understanding, dyscalculation and calculations. Let's talk about common learning disabilities. There are many learning disabilities. Most common of them are: number one is dyslexia, learning disability related to reading. That is, children may have difficulty in reading, spelling, recognizing word, and understanding written language. Simple things. What is dysgraphia? Number two is dysgraphia, learning disability related to writing. It affects handwriting, spelling, sentence formation, and organizing thoughts in writing. That is called dysgraphia. It's a learning disabilities. Then happens is dyscalculia. What is dyscalculia? Dyscalculia is a learning disability related to mathematics. Children may struggle with numbers, calculation, and mathematical symbols and problem solving. Then number four is dyspraxia, a disorder affecting motor coordination and movement. It may make activities like writing or tying shoelaces or balancing a bit difficult. So dyspraxia is a disorder affecting motor like hand or leg. A person hard time tying his shoelaces and those sort of thing. That is a learning called dyspraxia. Then comes auditory processing disorder, APD, difficulty in understanding and processing sounds or spoken instructions. Even though hearing is normal, just brain cannot process the thought into the next stage. Number six is visual processing disorder. There is difficulty in interpreting visual information such as shapes, letter, direction, or spatial relationship despite normal eyesight. Even if he has a normal eyesight, it's a hard time for him to interpret visual information such as shape, letter, direction, or spatial relationship. That is visual processing disorder. Then comes non-verbal learning disability, NVLD, a condition where a child has difficulty understanding non-verbal cues, spatial skills, social interaction, and coordination. He is the hard time understanding. If a girl wink at him, he won't get that. So that is a disability. It's sad, but people has those. But this NBD is a very lesser amount of people, but it's fixable eventually. Question number 8 is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. All boys in the world has ADHD. It's a condition characterized by inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsive behavior, which can affect learning and classroom performance. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, you get it's there's a logic song, ADHD. If you listen to it, you will understand that what he is talking about. It's ADHD happen mostly in adolescence, and in boys it's very common. So in short, is dyslexia is reading disorder. We'll see so as was 6 as 9, like that sort. Dysgraphia is writing disorder, hard time writing. Dyscalculia is calculation disorder. Dysphagia or FXA is speech disorder. Or dysphagia, we heard dyspraxia is another thing, but dysphagia is speech disorder, hard time speaking something or put word. For example, if I read dysphagia reading disorder, will see so as was 6 and 9, like that. But if he has dysphagia, that sort of thing will do, and that's it's a bad thing. It's a sad thing. Some people has that, so we feel bad for them. We should not feel bad for them, because in inclusive classroom a teacher should not be bad, but treat each other by their own standard and does not make fun of anyone, but rather taken care of everyone. So it should be caring and safe place. So the example I gave him is very unethical, but you understand, for your understanding I did that, dysphagia and asphasia, and how does speech disorder occurs. Then comes dyspraxia and asphasia, that apraxia, that is motor speech disorder because of motor issue, mouth or bone or any sort of organ issue. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, you got that. Then there is another thing, autism spectrum disorder, that is Asperger syndrome. It has communication, social activities, and repetitive action. There sort of people were many in that new movie Sitarism in Per by Amir Khan. So you understand that. Then cerebral palsy, that is brain damage, and PTSD, that is post-traumatic stress disorder, when a soldier comes from war and he see inhuman things, it gives him trauma, and that is post-traumatic stress disorder. This is a different one, but not necessarily. The 8 we already did here, those are important. Dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, aphexia or something, auditory, visual, non-verbal, attention deficit, or dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, ADHD, and that is it. Let's move question number 14. Which of the following psychologists emphasized observational learning? John Piaget, B.F. Skinner, Albert Bandura, Lawrence Kohlberg. Answer is Albert Bandura. Let's talk about what is observational learning theory. So Albert Bandura's observational learning theory is, observational learning means learning by watching others and then imitating their behavior. We all learn something from others, right? Watching them, listening to them, all sort of things. So that is what is called observational learning theory. Bandura believed that people do not learn only through direct experience or reward punishment, but also by observing models. Example, a child watches parents speaking politely and starts speaking politely too. Student imitate teacher, friends and celebrities. For example, people talk about how his growing up days make him a better person. How his parents were in front of him is how he was built. So that's is called observational learning. Steps and process of observational learning. Bandura gave 4 processes. Number 1 is attention, that is a learn must pay attention to the model. Retention is learner remembers that what was observed. Number 3, reproduction, learner tries to imitate or perform the behavior. And number 4 is motivation, learner needs motivation or reinforcement to continue the behavior. He has to have that. For example, a certain guy learns from a great actor and different sort of work. So his attention is first, he pay attention, then retention, he remembers, and he use that in reproduction. That's where he reproduce. But what's gonna help him to work like that for always? If he just made a reels and show that I work like this celebrity, they started getting likes and shares and follows and views. That could be his motivation. Just an example, you get my point. So important concept here, model, person whose behavior is observed, imitation, copying the observed behavior. Vicarious reinforcement, that is learner occupies by seeing the others rewarded or punished, that sort of thing. So this is an educational setting we are talking, not another way. For example, if a student sees another student praised for hard work, they may also study harder. You get the point. We always want to get praise, so we start to get better. Here's a Bobodal experiment. Bandura's famous experiment showed that children imitate aggressive behavior after observing adults behaving aggressively towards a doll. It's a simple thing. If you see your father, if you are a kid, if you see your father talk, very angrily, aggressively to someone else or something, or even TV, remote is not working, your father see your father cursing at TV. Later, when your remote is not working, you are a child and your remote is not working, you will also talk aggressively to the television set. So that's the thing, that is Bodal experience, altogether initial. Famous session showed that children imitate aggressive behavior towards observing adults behaving aggressively towards adults. This proved that aggression can be learned socially. Observation influence behavior. That is correct. What is its educational importance? Teacher act as role models, like demonstration method helps learning. Positive classroom behavior can influence students. Moral values and social skills are learned through observation. That's how you use observational learning by Albert Banduras. That is its educational importance. In short, observational learning is learning that occurs through watching others behavior and imitating. You can learn how to make film just by watching movies. You can do that. Question number 15. A children who allows student to learn through project and experimentation is following what? Traditional pedagogy, behaviorist approach only, or experiential learning approach, or mechanical instruction? It has to be experiential learning approach. Question number 16. Which of the following is an example of summative assessment? So summative assessment is something that happens at the end. Formative assessment that happens ongoing. So here classroom discussion, unit and examination, observation and during activities, oral feedback during class. So oral feedback during class, observation during activities and classroom discussion all are formative assessment, but the unit and examination is summative assessment. Yes. Question number, let's talk about many types of assessment. Many types of assessment are there, but here's for current elaboration and understanding. We don't get into that, class is already getting a long time, so we're just trying to keep it short. Number one is diagnostic assessment, done before learning begins. Helps identify student prior knowledge, strength and weakness. When you enter into a class, you don't just go into speaking and reciting stories and poems, everything. You just have to understand the level of students' intelligence first. That is diagnostic intelligence. If the student don't even understand letters or no letters, it's going to be tough to explain them a novel or a poem or a metaphor or all those of things, because they don't really quite get the letters. There is one time I went to a school, 8th standard student, and they don't even know how to pronounce A to Z, ABCD. They don't get it. So how can you teach them if I just go there and starting the lesson fast? What happens and this and that, all sort of things, and they were like, what is this fool talking about, but I did okay. I just go there and I started asking about to read a paragraph or anything, so I get their understanding, and if they read it and I'll understand what you understand, even a slice, small amount, but they don't even know how to read because they don't understand letters. So that is some backward student, and society's fault, it's government's fault, and all sort of things. So that is called diagnostic assessment, example pre-test or entry quizzes. Then comes formative assessment, that is done during the learning process, used to monitor progress and improve teaching, learning, class discussions, quizzes, assignments and feedback. So this is formative assessment is something that you do. So if I was teaching about Mahatma Gandhi, so when I complete, even don't I complete, if I just explain a para 1, then there is like 3 or 4 questionnaires. For example, I am giving them classes about APJ Abdul Kalam, and we discuss 3 paragraph. Then what we just to understand that the children are listening well and getting to the point and understand, we just go to the paragraph 1 and ask who was the father of, what was the name of the father of APJ Abdul Kalam. So that sort of thing, doing the assessment while we are in the middle of the class, we are learning, we are reciting and all sort of things. Then comes a summative assessment, that done at the end of the learning period, that is unit test, measuring overall achievement, what you learned the whole year, that is unit test or half yearly exam or annually exam, that sort of achievement. Measure overall achievements, that final exam, standardized test, final project, that sort of things. So question number 17, inclusive classroom benefits all learners, not only children with disabilities. Exposure, reason is exposure to diversity promotes empathy, cooperation and social understanding among students. Yes, both A and R are correct, and R is the correct explanation of A. Yes. Question number 18, which of the following best describe readiness to learn? Memorization without understanding, maturity and prior preparation required for learning, learning only through rewards, or inability to imitate teacher perfectly. What is the best description of readiness to learn? Readiness to learn is maturity and prior preparation required for learning, because you are ready to learn things. That is maturity and prior preparation required for learning. Question number 19, a classroom where mistakes are treated as learning opportunities is likely to promote what? It's a good thing, so you'll just go find for the positive one. Fear or failure negative, fixed mindset negative, growth mindset that is positive. punishment oriented is negative. So the growth mindset is the answer. Question number 20. According to Piaget, adolescents develop the ability for hypothetical thinking during. So we, in the first starting of the video, we learn about that. So what is the stage? Adolescents develop the ability to hypothetical thinking. It's already said adolescent. So it, according to Piaget, adolescents develop the ability for hypothetical thinking during what stage? We already learned that he did talk about it in the first of the video, and you understand that. But it also has a giveaway, like it said adolescence, and formal operation is 11 and above. So adolescent happened teenage years, so that is the formal operational stage. That is funny one. Question number 21. Assertion. Social interaction plays an important role in language development. That is correct. Children acquire language through communication and cultural interaction. That is absolutely true. Even a kid start learning his language from his mother. That is immediate environment. Like African child cannot learn how to talk about in French, that sort of thing. So both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 22. What is functional fitness is a barrier to problem solving because it encourages creativity? No, it does not encourage creativity. Limits thinking to conventional uses of object. That's what promotes flexible reasoning or improves analytical thinking. All 1, 3 and 4 are positive thing, but functional fitness is a negative thing. So negative is limits thinking to conventional use of object. That is what its meaning. Limit thinking of conventional use of objects. And what is functional fixedness? Let's talk about it. Functional fixedness is a cognitive bias in which a person sees an object only in its usual or traditional use and finds it difficult to think of alternative use for it. This concept was introduced by Carl Dunker. It can limit creativity and problem solving ability because the individual becomes mentally fixed on familiar function of object. Example, a person may think a coin can only be used as money, but it can also be used as screwdriver to tighten a screw. That is the thing. Importance functional fixedness explains why some people struggle with creative thinking, while overcoming it helps in innovation and effective problem. Let me give you an example. We had a worker, he has this thinking that more money is more money, right? So you give him like 10 coin of one, that is 10, so 10 rupees or whatever. But if you give him a one note of 500 rupees, he will choose 10 because his brain is brain damaged. But in this case it's functional fixedness because he's fixed on getting more and he thinks that, but he's not thinking creativity or any other thing. There is use of more thing. For example, he would use an instrument to do a job that takes 2 hours more, but if he use the other instrument he would do it in less time, but he just don't get it because he knows that instrument is the only way. So that is refusal to see things from others perspective or others way, or even you think of something for yourself creatively. So that is called functional fixedness. Question number 23. Which of the following classroom practices best supports emotional development? Frequent comparison among students, that is a false, that is not good. Ignoring student feelings, that is also wrong. Encouraging expressions of thoughts and emotions, that is true. Using humiliation is a discipline, that is totally wrong. Best practice emotional development is encouraging expression of thoughts and emotions, that is the correct one. Question number 24. In educational psychology, transfer of learning refers to what? Forgetting previously learned material, or applying previously learning in new situation, or learning through punishment, or copying answer from others. What is transfer of learning refers to? It's applying previous learning in new situation, that is the correct one. Question number 25. Which of the following best represent democratic classroom management? Teacher makes all decision alone, that is not democratic. Strict punishment, that is also not democratic. Student participate in decision making and classroom responsibilities, that is democratic classroom management. Student remains silent throughout the classroom, that is not democratic classroom. So the answer is What is the definition of democratic classroom? Is when students participate in decision making and classroom responsibilities. Question number 26. Assertion. Peer learning can improve academic achievement. That is true. Student often explain concept to one another language in that easier way to understand. For example, we went to teachers hall, but when our friend explains things to us, that is easier to learn because we are free, and that happens. So that is both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 27. Which of the following is the most appropriate way to address learner diversity? Same instruction for all learners regardless of needs. That is not how you address learners diversity. Labeling weak learners publicly, that is also wrong. Using varied teaching strategies and flexible assessment, that is the only way you address learner diversity in an appropriate way. Focusing only on higher achievers, that is totally false. The answer is using varied teaching strategies and flexible assessment, that is the answer. Question number 28. According to behaviorist theory, learning primarily occurs through insight and reflection, conditioning and reinforcement, heredity and influence alone, or spiritual realization. So behaviorist theory is about behave, like conditioning. You condition a behavior and reinforcement, B.F. Skinner thing. So answer is conditioning and reinforcement. B.F. Skinner, we will read that in next class. We'll totally get that. Today we get into a lot of theory, that's why these videos get long. We explain that in a quiet manner, in a good way. We explain that all you need to do is just watch and hear and use your phone and repeatedly watch it. You will understand it, and if there's a problem arises, you can just comment on it. Question number 29. Which of the following statement about adolescence is correct? Adolescents do not seek identity information. Adolescents peer influence become increasingly significant during adolescence. That is correct. Emotional development stop during, no, that's where it happens more. Cognitive growth remains completely unchanged. No, that's where everything changes. So the answer is peer influence becomes increasingly significant during adolescence. And the last question. A teacher asks, question number 30. A teacher asks students to maintain journals reflecting on their learning experience. This strategy mainly promotes what? Surface memorization, reflecting thinking, self-assessment, or competitive learning, or mechanical repetition. Answer is reflective thinking and self-assessment, because that's where you talk about your whole day, keep a journal, you talk to a journal, that sort of thing. So anyway, I finally come to the end of our video. That is an hour long video. I did not expect it to go that long, but we added all sorts of theories and explanation for your better understanding. Even a noob can read that class and be great and good at something. I am sure of that. By noob, that is not a disrespectful manner, but we all are noob in some field, right? So it's disrespectfully if it does know, if someone doesn't even heard of this term and all sort of thing and trying to go for teaching exam. So that is why I am saying, and this video is very elaborate and we explain all sort of theories. And if you have a complication, mistake happens, but if you have a complication or any sort of irregularities of your thoughts that you cannot process together, you can just comment and watch the video. It would help if you wear earphones and get closely into what am I talking about during the theory and examples and all sorts of things, and it will be better for you. And anyway, we will get more videos for SST and CDP, so like, share and subscribe to our channel, and what, yeah, we will also put out shorts and some things like that. But most importantly, for your better, ignore shorts but do the long video classroom, and tell your friend and all sorts of things, and check out our channel, and we'll do one set of CDP and SST every now and then, like 5-10 videos throughout the week, because exam is near and all sorts of things.
we are going to put out all sorts of things. So anyway, thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe to the channel. The channel name is Jack Slayter. Notes, study hard and work smart. Anyway, let's depart. Goodbye and have a nice day, guys, and make sure to subscribe and support us. Anyway, goodbye and have a nice day.